started the recording. Have a great conference, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. So I didn't actually ask, so just jump right into the presentation?
Well, I'll introduce you in a second. Just dealing with some technical issues here, everyone, so. All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Raul Hugh. I will be your moderator for this stream. This is stream 1, the cyberspace, and our guest speaker at this moment is Mr. John Parker from the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity. This afternoon, John will be discussing zero trust and its impact on his work. I ask that questions be posted in the Q&A section, which will be presented at the end of the session. Also, this session will be recorded and posted on the website in the appropriate time frame. And without further ado, I present Mr. John Parker.
Good afternoon. This is going to be just a very, very high cursory view of zero trust. I had some more planned to speak about, but I've come down with a cold and I'm just kind of miserable. So yeah, I'm John Parker. I'm coming from the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity. Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, we're like the single point of contact for expert advice, guidance, services, and all things cyber for Canada and Canadian citizens. We're part of the security establishment, so the communications security establishment. And I heard a good little quote just recently. It was CSC's 75th anniversary, and they described CSC as the most important organization that you've never heard about. And if that's true, then the Cyber Center is sort of like the public face of that most important organization that you've never heard about. So specifically, I'm part of the Cyber Center's security architecture group. We provide advice and guidance on how to architect and design systems with the security focus in mind. We're also the lead on a few of the key publications, ITSG 33, which is the IT security risk management a lot of the Canadian government uses, as well as the ITSP 8022 and 38, which are focused on the security zoning model. So the topic of this presentation is what is zero trust? Very high level cursory review. Starting off, like, what is zero trust from the definition from NIST SB 800 and 207. Zero trust provides a collection of concepts and ideas designed to minimize uncertainty and enforcing accurate least privilege per request access decisions in information systems and services in a face of a network viewed as compromised. Zero trust architecture is the application of that across an enterprise's landscape. So that's kind of like the dry sort of description of what zero trust is. I took some of the publications from and fed them into an AI chatbot just for fun. And I asked it, what is zero trust? And not surprisingly, it basically spit out the NIST definition. I then went on to ask it, I have kids, I went on to ask it, how would I describe this to an elementary school student? And it came up with a kind of fun description. Zero trust is like a secret club where you need to give your password every time you want to get in, even if you're already recognized as a member of the club. And I kind of thought, like, it's kind of silly, but that's a nice little concept when you think about it. I went on to ask it some weird things about, what about if zero trust was a fairy tale or a Lovecraftian horror, and things got a little weird from there, but AI is kind of a fun, amazing tool. So zero trust is explicit. All access is granted explicitly. There is zero implicit trust granted. And that's where the zero really comes in. It's zero implicit trust. And every explicit trust is granted between a subject accessing or executing an action on a resource. And those subjects can be a person, a workload, an application, or a device. And a resource can be anything that a subject is trying to access, such as data or a workload. The trust is allowing the subject to carry out an action with the least privileges possible. And then specifically, the trust is constantly and automatically validated and dynamically updated to ensure the trust is for the current context. So it is, when I say dynamically, you can take into consideration many different aspects. So where a user or a subject may have trust on a resource in a specific context, like logging in from your workstation in the office with a trusted device and accessing a local service on your network versus somebody remote accessing in maybe a same user but on a different time zone or a different device. You may get access to the same resource but with different privileges. So there's a few things that zero trust is not. Zero trust is not a product. There is no silver bullet solution. No matter what any vendor says, there is no one. Nothing comes in a box that'll solve all your problems. There is a lot of products out there that will help you along the way, or address specific concerns or specific portions of your environment. But there is no single solution for this. Zero trust is also not a static thing. It's not like, check, we have zero trust. It's really it's an entire concept that needs to be applied and continuously evolved on your systems and in your environment as well. It's not just technology. And then the last thing is zero trust is not impossible. There is a roadmap to success. So CISA in the States has proposed a zero trust model that consists of 5 pillars and 3 capabilities. The Department of Defense down in the States has something similar. It's using just 7 pillars. But essentially it's the same thing. What you see on the screen here is, I see them as kind of building blocks. It's like Lego or puzzle pieces. The picture is never really complete unless you have all of them and they're working together correctly. You can see in the picture, none of these things are unknowns. There are stuff that we're already familiar with. And what is different in a zero trust environment is we're applying the tenets and the principles of zero trust to those pillars and categories. And this is where I plan to go into the tenets and principles of zero trust. And I got notes, but on this end, I'm just going to leave that and suggest that people read the NIST publication, SP 800-207. It's very well written. So going on to actually building zero trust. Zero trust is a marathon, not a sprint. And I know it's probably an overused phrase, but I like the analogy for 2 reasons. And first, it's obvious that fundamentally changing the security model that your organization operates under is no small effort. And it requires a shift in the people, the processes, and the technology. The second reason is it's like any foot race. Every step you take you're closer to the finish line. And as long as you're in the race, you're still getting closer to that goal. So there is no bad step. And on that, the zero trust maturity model. So again, I'm borrowing heavily from the CISA and NIST publications, in part because they've done a very good job of documenting all this. And I lack any artistic ability, so I'm using the picture that they have. I am a really big fan of maturity models. I think they speak to the part of me that really enjoys video games. You can see for each of the pillars or categories within the zero trust model, they can all be improved upon and essentially leveled up. And it really works in that as each is improved upon individually and matures individually, the overall posture of the whole gets better. And even if you've assessed that one of your pillars within the model is at a maturity of 0, meaning it's running at an ad hoc basis and essentially with nothing, the act of actually documenting that fact and understanding what might be needed to improve it is of value to the organization. So having applied a maturity model always gives you the next steps and where to go. It's invaluable. So the concept of zero trust architecture is essentially taking these principles, which I didn't go into, and the tenets of zero trust, and applying them to the foundational pillars within the organization, and ideally measured against a maturity model with the goals of continuous improvement. So zero trust architecture is that application across the organization. Where does the Cyber Center fit in? So currently we have a couple published documents and there's more in the works. There's an awareness product for zero trust security model. It's a couple pager, just kind of covers what I just spoke about here today. And then there's also the management level publication, a zero trust approach to security architecture, which is sort of pulls together some of the publications from some of the other some of our other allies across around the world, and summarizes them within there. Communication Security Establishment and the Cyber Center are also internally working on progressing towards zero trust within our own organization. And Cyber Center is working in collaboration with Treasury Board and SSC on the GC's approach to zero trust, both from a policy and a general direction and that roadmap to success, as well as working on providing guidance for each of the separate pillars within as they're being stood up. So, like I said, this is a very short presentation. I had more, but I just kind of failing of the cold. Is there any questions?
Well, thanks for this, John. It was very informative. A question I have for you, though, is how much buy-in do you have to get from operations and management in order to enable an organization to go to zero trust?
I would say that you probably need quite a bit. It is sort of a sea change in the organization, but it doesn't have to be pitched as zero trust. It's an improvement across, as I said, maturity of all those pillars. So the individual components like identity and access management. So moving from using one-off username passwords to a centralized federated system and using multi-factor authentication is improving that one pillar. Taking the same approach on a different pillar within the same within there, like say the automation and orchestration, and understanding that changes in one will automatically trickle across to another. They're all separate, but they all play into the same bigger picture. So it's not you don't need to have buy-in for zero trust. You need to have buy-in for all the changes within the big picture that'll help bring you to that zero trust model. Does that help?
Yes, it does, John. Thanks for that. We have a question, and it's, are you able to provide the links to the ITSAP.10.008 security model and security architecture?
Yeah, they're actually both up on the Cyber Center publications page. I can put that link in the chat, or if you just go to the Canadian Center for Cybersecurity's main webpage, and there'll be a link, I think, down in the left-hand corner for publications. You'll find them there.
Okay, we have another question. Where is the government in general with respect to implementing a zero trust architecture? How do you measure that, and how are you enforcing ministries, agencies, and departments to adopt this approach?
So that was one thing I kind of wanted to work into this presentation, but I actually feel it's not the Cyber Center's place to speak on that. It really is Treasury Board who has that broad view across government. We can provide guidance on how it should be done, but they're really the one that has that view of where they're at across the board for the government of Canada, as well as that maturity for the different pillars. I know there is, like I said, we are working with Treasury Board and Shared Services Canada, which is the the IT service provider for the majority of the government of Canada, on initiatives to help strengthen those pillars, as well as with other departments that are working on their own components. But really, it's Treasury Board that should speak to that bigger picture. Where is the government at?
Okay. All right, then. Well, if there are no further questions, John, thank you for this. It's been very informative. And we will close the session shortly. Again, this session has been recorded and will be available on the website. Next up will be the Canadian Center for Cybersecurity discussing analytical software for threat assessments, or the ASTRA program. So for those, oh, wait a minute, just got one more question that popped up. Ooh, here's a good one. Where does AI fit in?
Good question. I think broadly within those pillars, like this is just me thinking off broadly within those pillars. It could fit in. You think about automation and orchestration. AI is going to be a tool that is used for automation and orchestration. I don't think it is a one-to-one mapping between AI will solve this, but AI as a technology will be used for zero trust. Part of what zero trust relies upon is collecting information and data for all components and being able to make decisions dynamically based on that information. AI is going to be a great tool to allow that to happen. That's where I see it going. Not to say it's going to solve problems, but it is going to be a useful tool for zero trust moving forward.
Okay.
All right, thank you for the time. I'm sorry again, I did have more to talk about, but I am just miserable.
No worries. We understand you're sick, and we appreciate you having taken the time in your recovery to come online and discuss with us. So, John Parker, thanks again. Get better soon. And next up is from Canadian Center for Cybersecurity, talking about analytical software for threat assessments. So we will end this session now, and have a good day.